November 16th, almost 11 a.m. Earlier this morning I was set up on in these open oaks out here. There's a lot of acorns. Just wanted to sit out there and observe a little bit because I've never hunted that spot in the morning. Didn't see any deer. Made a mock scrape on the edge of the oaks in this thicket. Checked that camera and there's this really nice 10-point in here. I have more pictures of this buck than any other deer this year on 20 different dates. Definitely narrowed down a little bit of his home range here. He doesn't seem to leave too much. This valley and that next hill over, but it's really thick in here. Luckily there's this old logging road that runs up and down the hill, and I'll be able to have a shooting lane up and downhill of me. There's no sign in here. Just kind of, no, I'm not winging it, but there is no sign to really go off other than this really faint deer trail, which is exactly what I was looking for. From my scrape up in here, there's a really faint deer trail. No rubs on it. One old scrape on it. And that's what I'm set up over. Probably 4 years ago in rifle season now. There was a nice buck that I jumped, bedded up here twice. He was bedded in the same spot twice. I jumped him both times. I know I've jumped another deer right here, and there's a bed there as well, right below me. Across this little valley, over on the other side is insanely thick. They love bedding over there too, and they'll cross over as well and get into these oaks. But so this big buck is one of the big bucks that came in during that crazy hunt I had on the 7th. That was on the other hill over there. I had him at 5 yards when he chased the doe by me, full speed. That was the only time I've seen him in the flesh, and I have one shed off him. And he's definitely the top dog in here. It seems like every other nice buck that's come around is gone, and he's the only buck that's frequent. There's plenty of does in here, more does than just for him, but he has seemed to kick every other mature buck out of here. But we'll see what happens. It's only 11 or so, I think. And I'm gonna sit this out till dark, and I might even throw a sit at it tomorrow, because I know this buck's in here. I know he's in here. I just had a giant buck at 25 yards. Giant buck. It wasn't the big 10-point I've been talking about. It was a different big buck. 145-inch deer, easy. 140-inch buck. 25 yards. It's so thick in here. That was one of the biggest deer I've ever seen in the woods. I got the full draw on him a couple times, but I just could not get an arrow through there. He walked right up here. It's so thick. Man, I didn't even worry about the camera. I just pushed it out of the way because he was right on top of me by the time I saw him. That was a slammer. I knew they'd be cruising through here. Jeez, what are the odds? Hey, we're gonna keep hunting. I'm sorry, the camera's really laggy. It's getting to be last light here. I just shot that big 10-point that I was in here after. About a 5-yard shot. I hit him a little high, but it was a good angle. He acted like he was hit pretty hard, and then he started coughing a bunch. He didn't go very far. I'm just gonna sit here and listen for a long time. Make sure he doesn't go anywhere. I hit him a little high, but it was a pretty good shot. It was just a little high, but it was a pretty steep angle here. I might have got one lung on him. He's a giant. He's a really, really big buck. I really hope he expires over there. Got a full pass through on him. Just half the fletching was sticking out of him. I can't believe that just happened. The one buck I'm really mainly in here after comes into 5 yards. I don't even know if the camera was on. I really hope he expires over there, because this is a freaking tank. Well, I'm hiking out. I got out of the tree about an hour after I shot him. I'm gonna meet my dad out here. I checked first blood. It looks pretty good. There's bubbles in it. I'm just worried it's one lung. I hit him high. But it was a little steep at 5 yards. And he was just coughing like crazy. I never heard him move. Hopefully he's dead, man. He was slammer. He ran hard after the shot, about 60 yards. Stopped. Started coughing real bad. Then he went to the left, made a hard left. I heard a little crash. And then he kept going a little bit. He was coughing the whole time. And then I just didn't hear him. Didn't hear him after that, so I feel good about it, so just giving him some time here. Gonna get to meet my dad here. We're tracking him. We got decent blood here going. Right up here's where I last heard him. Oh my God.
Oh, there he is. He's huge. Oh my God, way to go. Way to go, buddy.
Oh, smokes. He's giant.
He's a big one. Oh, wow.
Oh my God.
Go ahead, go up there and get him.
Oh my God. Oh man.
Oh, wow.
Holy smokes, Dad. Oh my God. Oh, we did it.
You did it, buddy. Good job.
6 years. 6 years since my last Pennsylvania buck with a bow. And that's a freaking giant.
You hit him right where you said. Wonder where the arrow is.
Never saw the arrow. That's why he bedded down. I didn't hear him.
No, he laid down.
But he's right where I heard him last. Oh my gosh.
Congratulations.
I can't believe I killed this deer.
Congratulations. Oh my, is he a nice one? What is he?
He's a 10. So, holy smokes. He's a 9. He has a little kicker. Wow.
No, he's a 10.
There's a little...
Yeah, it's a little kicker. Good job.
So, I have a little history with this deer, just not much. So last year I was bouncing between 3 counties hunting archery, and it's very physically demanding, and just you don't save much money doing that. Spending 1 week in one place, 1 week another. So this year, I'm not looking for giant deer. I'm looking for just a little more, just a mature buck, a 3-year-old buck. That's all I look for. That's kind of my standard that I would try to do. It helps me learn a lot about these deer, chasing a little older age class. And so last spring, I was in here shed hunting, just about a mile over here. I call it kind of my ground zero spot, like where I first realized there was quality deer in here. Found these huge rubs and just really made that point A and started growing off of it over the years. And so I made a mock scrape in there years ago, and just kept monitoring it. Well, this buck ended up showing up on it last year. He was a 10-point last year as well. He showed up, I think, November 15th or November 16th, a year ago to today. Was the first time I remember seeing him. I was in Kansas bow hunting, and he came in to that scrape in the daylight. I was in here last spring shed hunting and ventured more over this way, about a mile, and I ended up picking up 5 big buck sheds from 3 different bucks, and this is one of them. All of them were 5-point sides, and I found a couple other small sheds right up here, and that was what made me drift over to this area and want to learn it more. And started across the whole valley over here about 1.5 miles this year before I went out west to hunt mule deer. I hung some cameras over there on the edge of this clear cut over there, and I ended up picking him up on camera. I'm like, man, that looks like the buck I have a shed to. And that was in September, so he spent September over there, and then he shifted over here. I mean, I have more trail camera pictures of this deer than any other buck ever. I literally sat down last night and found every picture I have of him from this year and put them all in individual folders by each date, and it was over 20 days. Over 20 days from September till now, I've had this buck on camera, which for a mountain buck is very insane. And he's just really frequented this hill specifically in this valley where I ended up getting him. He was actually the buck in one of my last videos that was snort wheezing. This was him. This was the buck that was snort wheezing with those 2 other big bucks. I had this buck at 5 yards last week, November 7th. That hunt was. He went screaming by me, chasing a hot doe with 2 other bucks. Tried to get a shot, another 10-point, couldn't. And that was 300 yards on the point of the mountain over here. I know the 13th, he showed up here tending a doe while I was hunting him 200 yards away. I'm not specifically hunting this deer, I just knew he was in here and frequented a lot. I was hunting any quality, just 3-year-old buck or older that came through. I wasn't specifically hunting him. And but he was over there the 13th tending a doe, or the 12th or something. But I hunted him the next day in there. I ended up seeing 25 deer, and he wasn't one of them. And that was the beginning of this week, and it's been really slow this week for deer movement. It's just been overcast, and it was been humid, a little bit of rain, and I was doing a lot of walking around and just checking cameras and sitting a lot as well. But I really sat down last night and I'm like, this deer, like, I can't believe I've only seen him once. Like, he never leaves here, it seems, according to my cameras. And so this morning, this is like probably a 3-mile hike in here. I am. I've been getting up super early every morning and hiking in here, and hiked all the way in here, and there's this open oak woods out here where this is like an older clear cut or so out in here, and there's these open oaks out there, and I've got them on camera out there a couple times. I've sat that spot in the evening. Does love coming out and feeding, and they love feeding out there at night. There's acorns, but I've never sat it in the morning, so I sat back in the open oaks really far and just wanted to observe. Didn't see anything. It was about 9 o'clock, and I'm like, I know this buck is living in here somewhere. I need to come in here and just try to just throw a sit at it and see what I can do. I came in the bottom. This is like a big bowl in here. I came in the bottom, and I know there's a scrape in there, but it's not crazy. But the licking branch is really big, so I knew he made it, or he is using it. And so I put a camera on that scrape down here, and I was like, my last picture of him was the 13th, and it was out here on these oaks, and he was coming out of here at this perfect angle from where we are right now to where I got that picture. He was on a perfect angle. And I'm like, I know he's bedding up higher in this bowl. So I got to that scrape inside of this like really old clear cut that we're in now, and you can see there's a well-used deer trail going to the other side hill, and then there's this really faint deer trail coming up into here. I'm like, I bet that's his. And there is not one lick of deer sign in here other than some trails. There's no rubs. There's no shooting ability. Like, there's hardly any shots at all in here. It's so thick, but there's no rubs at all in any of these trees. There's just a couple scrapes down towards the little creek. I figured that faint trail was one that he would use, so I followed that faint trail up, and I was like, back to, my mind's going everywhere right now, but I love hunting these things, but I've learned so much. But in 2021, the first time I ever walked through here was in rifle season, 2021, I believe, and I jumped a buck right over here, twice in rifle season, right over here, same exact spot, a couple of days apart. And that trail I was following was leading right up to that bed. And, you know, we'll never know if it was this deer or not. There's no way I could possibly say, but I kept that in mind. So that faint trail was heading right up to that buck's bed up here, and I sat downwind of that really faint trail, and I was uphill of it. And it was probably about 10:30 or 11 I got into the tree, and I think it was 11:30 or noon or something, I forget, but had a giant buck, bigger than him actually, coming to 25 yards. I got a little video on my phone, just a huge 10-point. His brow tines were 6 inches, huge buck. Couldn't get a shot at him, but I was like, I'm gonna sit it out. This buck is in here, and I know he's in here. And that bigger buck filtered off, and then it was getting to be last light, and that wind just died, and I could hear a deer coming, and it was a nice 6-point. And I was like, if he comes in to 15 yards or closer, I'm gonna take a shot at this 6-point. And he fed off 30 yards and went up the hill. But as he was coming, I could hear more deer. I could hear more deer up here, and I could hear more deer across the valley. And sure enough, I started hearing a grunt. After that 6-point filtered off, started hearing a grunt, and I'm like, I know exactly what deer is about to pop out right now. I knew it was gonna be this buck. He is definitely the most dominant buck in here. He seemed to have kicked out most of the other bucks that have been living in here. Like that day I first saw him, and he was chasing that doe. 2 young bucks followed that doe, and he was right on their tails, grunting and snort wheezing. And the 2 other big bucks that were there were just hanging back. Like, they knew that they were gonna get their butts kicked if they went after that doe. And so I knew he's the top dog in here for sure. I didn't even recognize that bigger buck today. I think he was probably just passing through. But yeah, I heard this buck grunting, and sure enough, here comes a doe, and I could hear him grunting. He's pretty far behind her, and my wind is going down, but it's drifting off to the side of them. And I'm like, the doe is walking right where the 6 point was. I'm like, this buck's gonna go to 30 yards. I'll never get a shot at him, because that's right where the doe went. Well, since the wind was offset a little bit, the buck was probably 40 yards behind the doe. He wasn't staying on her exact trail. He was staying on her wind. So, which brought him closer to me, because the doe was at 30. The wind was blowing kind of from the doe to below me. And he was following her wind, and he came into 5 yards. And I gave him a stop and put it up just a little high. But it was for sure a double lung shot, just high lung. Blood trail wasn't great till we got about right here, which is where he made that 90-degree turn. And this is where I last heard him, in here. And I can't be more thankful. I've spent countless amount of time in the woods. No one really sees it except for my parents and my friends, how much time I'm really out here. And my dad can contest for it. I do it every day. I'm out here every day, even if it's not deer season. I'm looking for sheds or doing something with deer. And this is my biggest archery buck. And I can't believe I caught up to him. Dandy buck, just wide. And I have his shed at the house, so I'm gonna have to put it up beside him. But very thankful thankful for my Uber deer.
We'll wrap it up because it's getting past my bedtime.
Well, you don't do this every day.
I know you don't.
Hello?
Hey, Pop.
Yeah.
Hey, I shot a really big buck.
You what?
I shot a really big buck.
Oh, Dan, did you?
Yeah, we got him. He's dead.
Oh, boy. Who's out there with you?
Me and Dad.
Oh, boy. Dan, I'm so proud of you. You earned it, buddy.
Yeah,
You
thanks.
really earned it.
Thanks.
Where are you going to bring it in?
I can bring him down tomorrow morning. We have 3 miles to get him out here.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Be careful and take your time.
Tell him it's a 10 point.
You got a light?
We got a big light.
Okay.
Tell him it's a 10 point so you know.
It's a 10 point.
Holy hell.
Yep.
Oh, boy, I'm proud of you, Dan.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
We'll see you in the morning.
Okay. I'll tell Grandma.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Tell me something, buddy.
Not looking too good.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's gonna be a long drag. We got him.
Yeah, dude. Dude, you deserve it. I'm so happy for you, man.
Thank you.
Dude.
He died right where I thought he was. Get you some pictures here. I gotta get to work on him.
All right, man. I'm so happy, dude.
Thanks, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You guys have a good night.
Bye.
See ya. Alright, so next morning, and there's a little look at him in the daylight, plus his shed. I found this shed 800 yards from where I ended up shooting him, and it's pretty crazy how similar his antlers are. Just a spot on match. Beautiful buck, very thankful for what he's taught me and every other deer in the woods has taught me. It was the best archery season I've ever had. Saw so many deer, so many nice bucks this year, and just learned a lot, and I'm very thankful. And it's a little weird waking up this morning and not walking 3 miles in the woods, but had a nice warm breakfast, so it's all right. But he's a beautiful buck. Very thankful for him. Thankful for my dad that helped me get him out of the woods last night. Bow I'm shooting is a 45-pound ILF Takedown Recurve, Fleetwood riser, and Blackmax Limbs. So the arrows are 500 spine gold tips with 100 grain brass insert and vintage bear razor heads on them. They did the job on him.
Wasn't much of a blood trail because I hit him a little high. He mostly bled internally, but it zipped right through and buried clear down to the fletching. Never found that arrow. I got to go back in there and look for it. But it was pretty cool to have a little history of this buck. I had a picture of him last year, and when he carried those antlers, and then just finding his shed and those other buck sheds a mile away just brought me into that area, and was able to figure him out. Like I said, he was the most frequent deer I've ever had on camera. He was just stayed really local to that one hill and one valley, it seemed, and just ended up catching up to him. It's pretty rare to see a mountain buck just hang out in one small area, but he didn't have to leave. There was plenty of does and food there for him, so he had no reason to leave that area. But great hunt, and we'll see what the next adventure brings. Probably a trap line. Might go set some traps now and just do that. I normally do it when there's a bunch of snow and it's freezing and thawing out, but it'd be nice to do it when the weather's a little more consistent.